bought a haunted house.
Straightforward. They told me a man died in the house and we still bought it.
One night, I woke up in the middle of the night to see a young woman with long brown hair in Victorian garb watching me sleep.
Every Victorian home should come with a sad girl.
The classic ghost story.
Yeah. You all have haunted house stories that we're going to read. Hey, what's up?
This is Two Girls, One Ghost.
Two Girls, One Ghost. And we are your ghostesses. That is Corinne.
Hello.
And I am Sabrina. And, we live in places. You all live in places. Apartments, homes, cars. Sometimes those places are haunted. And sometimes you buy them without knowing that they are haunted. And sometimes you buy it knowing and hoping that they are haunted, like the house that Payne and I bought and was built in 1767. Of course it's haunted.
Or the one that I bought that I didn't think was haunted and certainly is, and is next to the house on the hill that has something demonic.
And sometimes it's just you that's haunted. Either way, this Encounters episode is all about haunted real estate, haunted homes, realtors showing people haunted houses. You and I both have experience with plenty of haunted houses, moving into, living in, buying, all of those things. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to reshare my favorite story, and I'm sure people have heard it before because I've talked about it on the podcast, but it's one of my favorite, most terrifying, haunting experiences that happened. And it was when my family and I, when I was in 8th grade, we were looking to move and be closer to my sister's high school at the time, and hopefully eventually mine, what was my high school. And it was in Princeton, New Jersey. This is a brand new house, literally walking distance from the high school. So many strange things happened. My dad was traveling and working overseas. So the first time we went to see the house, he was not there. We loved the house. It was beautiful. We saw it during the day. Mm-hmm. But my mom's BlackBerry, which was not connected to cell service, kept getting calls, like weird calls. And she's like, that's strange. We go to see it when my dad is in town. And instantly he's like getting bad vibes. Like something is weird in this house. Then his phone starts getting calls from my mom's BlackBerry, which is in the car. Again, not set up with cell service.
Yeah.
Which makes me think that something is like, get out of the house quick.
Right. Like trying to lure you back out.
Mm-hmm. Then my dad started having like nightmares about this house. So something evil was there in the house. We fortunately did not purchase that home at the behest of my father. He was like, absolutely not.
I might have asked you this before, but do you know who did? Because it's right next to your high school. So did anyone that you went to high school with?
This is what's so weird is that, so it was a brand new build in like kind of a woodsy area. And what I heard is that the people who did eventually move in moved out within a year, and that it traded hands a lot of times. So then
creepy.
I know what the location was. So I was trying to find it on the maps. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if they completely redid the house, which I don't know why they would do that because it was brand new.
Yeah.
But none of the houses look like the house I remember, which almost makes me think that the house presented itself in a different way to me.
Yeah. Or I'm almost like, did someone come in because it just wasn't, like there were such bad vibes? Or like someone came in and turned it into a multifamily unit so it looks a little different?
Because all of the houses around the
outside facade wouldn't be that different.
That's what's wild to me. And there were like a couple of houses. It was on Great Road in Princeton that looked like it would be in that location. I looked on like Google Earth, like the walking mode. I looked on Zillow, and like the one house that I thought it could be looked nothing like that. And I remember the house so vividly.
When you go to Mexico, you should, with everyone else in your family, do that same walk. Because I wonder if anyone else will be like, no, this is it.
Well, I asked my mom and I even sent it to her. I was like, is this the house? And she goes, I can't really remember. But I remember the house and it did not look anything like those houses.
Weird.
It's so weird.
How very haunting of Hill House.
Right. Anyway, you all have haunted house stories that we're going to read.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to start?
Well, you go first. I just told mine.
Well, yours is personal.
So it doesn't count.
It doesn't count. This is called, I Bought a Haunted House.
Straightforward.
This is why it's important to put certain keywords in your emails.
Also, do you like my shirt? I wear it for this topic. Must be hard to carry all that baggage. It's the brand Boys Lie, which I'm obsessed with.
Oh, I've never heard of that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not surprised I haven't heard of it. I don't know anything about it. I shop only at Abercrombie half the time when I'm shopping online. I bought a haunted house. Hi, ladies. It's been some time since I wrote in to you. When I first wrote in, I had bought my first home all by myself. And after looking at many houses and searching for months, I purchased a 121-year-old Victorian and I loved it.
So cool.
The previous owner was a witchy lady who seemed totally awesome. She left many a spell jars around the house and property, performed several protection spells, and blessed the home while she lived here. And she absolutely loved the house and even named it.
What'd she name it?
Funny enough, she happened to name it one of my favorite baby names, Hazel. Coincidence? I think not.
Because your house is your baby.
Mm-hmm. So this house is crazy active and has been from the start. When I looked at the house for the first time, we were on the 3rd floor and we heard this loud bang from the 1st floor. The house was totally empty. There was no explanation for this, but I just wrote it off. Then, on the day of the final walkthrough, I was sitting on the stairs when out of the corner of my eye, I noticed that the bathroom door was slowly opening. And this has not happened again since I moved in, so definitely not a draft of the house. And also the house doesn't have central AC, so it couldn't really be explained by anything. A few days after closing on the house, I was there with my mom working on some cleaning before I moved in, when suddenly there were 3 knocks at the door. My mom happened to be by the front door, so she opened it, but there was no one there. After living in the house for almost a month, things began to pick up. One night, I woke up in the middle of the night to see a young woman with long brown hair in Victorian garb watching me sleep.
I get it. They're like, who's this newbie?
Yeah.
Just gonna
It's
watch
just
her while
Hazel
she's sleeping.
watching you sleep.
Yeah. Not creepy.
I got the sense that she was sad, but just observing me, and so I wasn't really scared. After we made eye contact for a moment, she turned and walked towards my closet and then disappeared.
Home.
A few nights after that, I was awoken by my dog standing at the foot of my bed, looking into the corner of the room and just growling. Keep in mind, my dog does not growl. I'm pretty sure if there was an intruder, he'd happily jump on them for attention. Now, I had just bought a new humidifier and that was running in the general area, so maybe he was just confused. I didn't see anything and I'm not really sure what to think of that one, but then it was quiet for a few weeks. Just as I thought things were starting to slow down, one night I'm out with my boyfriend and some friends when my dog triggers the camera in my living room. He's barking at something outside, which was probably nothing and likely unrelated. But as I watch, tons of orbs begin flying through the windows and around the room. And at one point, my dog shakes his head and an orb flies out
Of his head.
of his head.
Maybe it was just a ghost giving him little pets.
I have never caught anything like this on camera before, and I have a security system and have had a security system for years now.
Is there a video? Do we get?
Yes, there is.
Oh, fuck yeah.
I'm sending you the video if you want it.
Yes. Always.
A few weeks after that, I'm upstairs getting ready to head out for the evening when I hear a super loud and forceful knock. 3 knocks again at the door. My dog is losing his mind, and I walk down to the front door, I open it, and then nothing. I even called out to see if maybe there was someone and they had just walked back down the street, but there was nobody there. My dog proceeds to walk around the house, just looking around, and that really freaks me out.
Mm-hmm.
And then, just as I had finally started to put that out of my mind, a few nights ago, I'm out with friends when something trips the motion sensor in the living room camera, but this time it's not my dog or my cats. At the beginning of this video, in the bottom left corner, you see a shadow dart across the room, and eventually an orb floats by too. Keep in mind, this house is empty. No one is home. There is nothing that would create a shadow from behind that camera. And this is the video I've attached for you. Okay, so we don't have the orb coming out of the dog's head, but we have a shadow darting through
And an orb.
And
it's
an
got
orb.
both. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I've captured more videos of orbs in this house, and I've heard some pretty unexplained noises too, but these are the main highlights. Last thing I want to mention is the previous owner and I connected on social media recently.
Love.
We didn't get the chance to meet in person when she moved out because she moved out of state, but we have been chatting about the house, and she told me some of her experiences. Many of them validate the weird feelings that I get in certain parts of the house, but the one that really blew my mind was when she told me about the young woman she would often see in the small room with the bay window. She said she was never a bother and she kept to herself, but she got the feeling that this woman was very sad.
Aww.
She told me this before I even got the chance to tell her about my experience. Well, this was probably too long, but I do hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for reading, Devin. And then the video.
Okay, let's watch the video.
Okay.
Oh.
Ooh!
So you can hear what sounds like a dog walking. Or it also could be just like the video.
Yeah, because it's like a...
And now that I think about it, my camera does make that sound that we're hearing. Oh, I see the orb.
Oh, yeah, the orb comes out of nowhere.
Okay, so we're going to slow down this video again and watch the orb.
It definitely doesn't look like how a speck of dust just goes by. It looks like fast, intentional in direction. But I'm going back to the
shadow. My only thing is the dog walking past that's causing the shadow? Because it kind of sounds like a dog walking.
Does it? Okay, let me listen. It does sound like a dog walking, but I guess my other question is, why wouldn't this happen all the time?
That is
the dog roams around the house all the time.
But yeah, what do you guys think of the orb? Did you see it? I mean, this house is obviously haunted, and I do want...
And there was a cool, spooky-ass witch that lived there before and did awesome stuff.
And they saw the same thing.
Saw the same thing.
I am glad that she got the story from the previous owner, because my first instinct when I heard the Devon story about the girl seeming sad, I thought it was this spirit being sad that the previous owner had left.
Oh.
But it sounds like the spirit is just a sad little squonk spirit.
Melancholy lady just roaming around.
Which is so appropriate for a Victorian home.
Oh, absolutely.
Every Victorian home should come with a sad girl.
I like that there are these like single women living there, you know, with her.
Yeah. It's like
female empowerment to this lady.
All the time.
She gets to witness these strong ass women in her space, and maybe it's helping her become a little bit less sad.
Yeah. This really reminds me of Presence, the movie, and I know I told you about it recently, but highly recommend it to everyone. It's like a beautifully done horror movie about a family drama, but paranormal. It's really, really cool.
Okay.
I really like it.
Was this like there's a murder?
I don't know how to talk about it without giving anything away.
Okay.
But the daughter had lost a friend recently when they move into this house.
Okay, I think I'm mixing it up with something else that someone recently told me.
I have one from our listener, Destiny, and I'm not going to say what it's called. Hey, ghouls, I absolutely love your podcast, and I wanted to share a quick story with you. As a child, I was about 6 years old. I lived with my aunt for a short time in Port Angeles, Washington. My cousin and I shared a room at the top of the staircase, and we always heard creaking and footsteps going up and down the stairs. But my aunt always said, it's an old house, everything creaks. And I started to believe it. Until one night, I had an experience that I will never forget. My cousins and I's bed were side by side. So when I would lay on my side, I would be looking right at him. Well, this particular night, I was woken up by the sound of someone hysterically crying.
Oh.
So I thought I would open my eyes and see that my cousin was crying. But instead, I opened my eyes to see him with his blanket pulled up to his nose, completely silent, with absolute horror and terror in his eyes. I follow his gaze and turn my head to see what he is looking at. At the end of my bed was an apparition of a woman in a long-sleeved, floor-length, old-timey nightgown, sobbing loudly into her hands.
Oh.
I quickly pulled the blankets over my face and begged her to go away. After a few more seconds, the crying stopped and the woman was gone. We continued to hear the creaking and footsteps, but I never saw her again. Fast forward 20 years later, my grandma is a real estate agent and ends up getting this house as a listing. I told my grandma the story of this crying woman, and she told me that when she got the listing, she learned the history of the house. This house used to be a nunnery back in the day, and it gave me complete chills to hear that. I knew exactly in that moment that that is what I saw. I saw a woman, a nun, crying.
This is very sad. Terrifying to experience, but it makes me really sad.
It's not that scary. I feel like that experience did open my mind to the paranormal early on, and I have become pretty sensitive to spirit energy. I could tell you stories for days. The paranormal has turned into an almost obsession for me, and I owe it all to the crying nun. Destiny.
I know that this is obviously not true because people are people, but in my mind, I like to think of nuns or like monks or anyone that just chooses like to be a part of religion and live in a certain way. to just have extreme peace and never have the emotion of feeling sadness. So it makes me really sad that, like, you know, there was something that happened that made her sad.
Well, it's also tough.
To the point of bawling her eyes out.
Because I wonder what year this house was a nunnery, because there is a history of like young women being sent to nunneries to become nuns if they were like abnormal or not accepted in society.
Mm-hmm.
So I do imagine that there were a lot of sad,
abandoned,
neglected women who were sent here.
Right. To just be rejected by your family like that.
But like, how wild that 20 years later, the story came full circle.
Incredible.
And that you saw it with your cousin. Like, you weren't alone in it.
Well, and this is another thing that why the paranormal is so cool, because sometimes something can feel like a standalone, like that was a weird thing. Am I remembering that correctly? Did I make that up? Was that a dream? And then years later, other eyewitnesses or other people can add more context into your story that you're just like, holy crap.
This is why you need to watch The Presence.
Okay. I have a big watch list.
Yeah.
I literally
Let's stop everything and watch it right now. And you can all watch the movie.
I'll watch that because it's easier than me. Yeah. Actually, a couple days ago, someone was like, how was your Gilmore Girls journey going? And I was like, well, I last updated, 3 months ago? And that's the last time I watched it.
There's a lot of it to watch, though.
There's a lot of it to watch.
Yeah.
And my child doesn't do contact naps anymore. He must be stroller walked, so I can't watch Gilmore Girls while I'm walking around on the streets.
You could put it on your stroller.
I know, but then I'm like, do I really want screen time when I'm outside? I should be looking out in the trees and
that's true.
Communing with the owls. Hoot, 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 hoot. The poltergeist that haunted my mother. Hello, coastal witches that sandwich us all with your paranormal experience.
Oh my gosh.
Back when you lived in LA.
That is the most beautiful way to have put it. For 7 years,
paranormal sandwich.
We were sandwiching the U.S. with our ghostly stories.
They're right. That sounded better in my head, but F it, I'm leaving it.
No, that was magical.
It sounded great.
It sounded amazing. I'll never forget that until next week when you ask me what she said. But it was, in this moment, it was beautiful. In this moment, it was beautiful. Thank you.
First time listener, began listening since July of 2023. After listening to the scary roads and that 11-mile road game, my backwoods isolated road home became one of the scariest rides home ever. Great way to stay awake. Am I right?
Fearing that you're accidentally going on an 11-mile road every time you go home. Sorry.
I just fear that I will unwittingly play the 11-mile road game when I meant to just head home or find a nun in my back seat.
Great.
She better have some gas money if she wants a ride because this bitch broke. And to those demons too, if they want me to play their stupid games, give me gas money.
There's got to be a trade-off.
Yeah. Chris will do anything if he is just given gas money.
Yeah, makes sense.
My name is Chris, he, him, and I noticed it's a long intro, so let me just get to my short story or long story, who knows. Let us go back to 2004, when my father abandoned my mother, siblings, and I in Mexico. He didn't really abandon us, but to 12-year-old Chris, he straight up left us behind.
Oh.
His explanation was vague on why he had to go get milk in Chicago, but whatever.
He had to go get milk in Chicago.
But going past my childhood trauma, my younger brother Ben and I were starting school in the town that we were living in. And just so you know, my parents grew up in that area, so we weren't living amongst strangers. It's literally a town filled with family members. Summer had just ended and we were starting school in a different county, which was nerve-wracking. But in these small towns, the class sizes were small, like so small. In my 5th grade, there were only 4 of us. There were 2 4th graders, 3 3rd graders. My brother was one of them.
Oh my gosh.
0 2nd graders and 2 1st graders.
Whoa. That's tiny.
Are there like 20 people in the town?
Yeah.
All in one class. Fun times. Anyways, one day, as my mom walked my brother and I to school, she asked us if we were waking up in the middle of the night. And my brother and I told her, no, we weren't. So she just shrugged, and that was the end of that.
Poor mom.
Poor mom.
What is she experiencing?
I know. Weeks went by, and that's when we noticed just how jumpy mom was, and how we began to spend more time at her sister's house, my aunt. I heard her telling my aunt that she can't sleep at night because of the stomping. Later, I found out what was happening to my mom.
Oh, I feel so bad for her.
I know. About a few days after we began school, my mom woke up in the middle of the night to someone stomping around the house. The house we lived in is a 1-story house with tile flooring, and the stomping tended to echo. She got up thinking it was either my brother or I, and when she stepped out of her room, the stomping would stop. The layout of the house was that my mom's room was at the back door across from the dining room and the kitchen, and next to her room was the bathroom. my older sister's bedroom, and at the time they both went to live in Chicago with my dad. And then cornering my sister's bedroom was the room that my brother and I shared. Okay, so there were 3 rooms.
Okay.
3 bedrooms. 2 sisters in one, 2 brothers in the other. My mom went to our bedroom only to find us fast asleep. Thinking that she had imagined it, she went back to her room, closed her bedroom door, and then the stomping began again. She swung the door open, found the house empty. But she noticed the stomping wasn't coming from the dining room or the kitchen. It was coming from her closet behind her. My mom then grabbed my sleeping 2-year-old baby sister, Julia, and just hid under the covers until morning. She would hear the stomping anytime she was alone or at night when we were all sleeping. And
This is like out of a horror movie.
Truly.
I feel like when the kids go to school, the trope is like the mom is now experiencing it alone.
Right.
And no one else is experiencing it. So it's isolating her, making her lose sleep.
And she's home with a baby.
Yeah.
My mom was the only one hearing it, and she thought she was going crazy. She only told the story to her sister. She really didn't know what to do. And at that point, a month had passed. So my poor mom was probably exhausted at this point.
Yeah.
She was tempted to move us into my aunt's house when one of my dad's cousins stopped by the house. And my brother and I were at school, and my little sister was playing on the couch. My dad's cousin, Elena, was talking with my mom, and the stomping began. My mom didn't say anything, but Elena heard it. She looked over at the closet bedroom door in my mom's room when the stomping got louder. "You hear it too?" My mom whispered. "It's probably the turkey. Do you hear them at night? We noticed they fly at your roof at night." Yeah, the poltergeist that was taunting my mom for a month was a turkey. "Really? I didn't notice," my mom told her as she plots millions of ways to murder this turkey for giving her nightmares and sleepless nights. She then pleaded with my dad's uncle to kill the turkey for a feast. But yeah, the haunting was actually a turkey. We killed it, and she ate the shit out of it in anger. I know this isn't paranormal, but for 1 whole month, my mom thought there was a poltergeist haunting the house. But I get it, because years later, I heard it too. It did sound like someone with work boots marching around the house, so I could see why this terrified my mom. See you on the other side, Chris.
Okay, well, this turkey targeted Chris's mom for sure. I mean, the fact that no one else heard it. No one else woke up to it.
That's what's weird. It's no one else heard a big ass turkey flying over like night after night onto the roof and stomping around.
What the heck?
And why would it stop every time? Other than, the turkey being like hearing movement and being like, is there a predator? Every time she got up.
Tormented by a turkey.
It was a turkey. Gotta love it.
I don't believe it. I think that it was a ghost.
I should have saved that one for the end.
Oh, man. Wow. I'm going to read this one from Sloan. Haunted house. My sister saw dead people and told our mom how she would die.
Oh my God. Okay.
Hey girls, my name is Sloan and I have loved listening to the podcast. My drive to work is an hour both ways, so your podcast has really helped make the time go by fast. Okay, let's get this shit show started. I was raised in a small town in North Carolina, and I was 7 when my sister was born, and she was just what our family needed. I love that.
That's so cute. Sweet. Oh, to be so wanted.
Yes, and adored. The house we lived in was in a really nice neighborhood, but tucked off the road, surrounded by tall trees. So at night, you couldn't see anything, and I mean nothing. Outside the windows, it was so dark, you could see nothing. I always felt like someone was watching me in that house, but I never had anything weird happen until my sister was born. When my sister was 2, she would go into our dining room by herself and play. One day, my mom heard her talk and walked by and said, "Honey, who are you talking to?" My sister deadass pointed across the room where her ball was and said, "The little boy over there won't give me my ball back." Obviously, there was no one there. And things like this happened frequently over the next month. And it terrified my mom. In one spot of our house, we had this huge antique organ because my stepdad is really into music. And my sister called my mom into the room and said, "Mommy, who are those people sitting there playing music?" My mom swallowed hard and said, "There is no one there, sweetie." To which my sister replied, "Yes, there is. Don't you hear the music?" Which was enough for my mom to lose her shit and call my stepdad back home from work. While she was waiting for him to get home, she kept asking my sister to describe what they looked like. My sister innocently said, "It's a tall man in a black jacket with a large black hat and a little boy." After that, needless to say, the organ was removed from our house and my mom had the house blessed. But things continued. Another time, my mom picked up my sister, who was now 3 at this time, from preschool, and my sister was sitting in the kitchen watching TV, coloring randomly, and said, "Mommy, I know how you'll die. You're going to fall down the steps and land on your face and break your neck. I saw it happen."
What?
Horrifying. As she's coloring. My
Oh
mom
my God.
starts freaking out, but simply said, that's not a very nice thing to say. Eventually, my sister started growing out of seeing people, but when I was in high school, weird things started happening again. We would hear random footsteps up the stairs all the time. One day there was a face in the window, like when you touch a cold window and there's frost on it, like that, but a full-on face with the nose decompressed, staring into our living room. Another time, my sister was asleep and woken up to a woman that looked just like our mom in a robe. But when my sister said, "Mom, why are you in here?" the person just turned around and it was not our mom because she just vanished. What? After years of strange things, we decided to sell the house and have not had any other issues in our new home. I was looking at a random video the other day of my dog when he was a puppy in our old kitchen, and sure as shit, there is a huge orb in the video, which is attached below. I have also attached the Zillow of our home, but please don't share this on the podcast, so we get to look at it.
Okay, great.
Even in the pictures of the house, it just looks dark and spooky. Anyway, thanks for all you do and for sharing our stories. Hearing others' stories make me less afraid of my own and grateful that we didn't have that much action in our house.
You had enough.
From Sloan. Okay.
I really want to see this house.
Well, let's look at the video first because everyone else can look at that.
Yes.
Sit. Stay. Good boy. Good boy. Stay. Sit. Stay. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Okay.
Let's slow down Sloan's video as well.
Just
Watch
for the
it
cuteness
again.
of the puppy, right? It's hard to think about the paranormal when you're distracted by.
But there's
there it is.
the orb. It is also really interesting because I feel like the orb comes at the exact moment as we're watching this again that the food is put down and can be eaten. It's almost like a time to eat, like all the spirits are coming through. The spirits come through at that moment
They're like, yeah, they get permission to
eat.
do whatever. All right, let's go. And also, I just feel like if I were a ghost, I'd want to spend time around a puppy too. I just feel like our pets are experiencing so much more activity than we know. And like, we only know these because they captured videos of it. But what's happening when we're not home? What's happening to all of our pets? When I die, I would want to be around pets all the time.
Absolutely. I'm going to haunt a house and hang out with the animals for
Yeah.
sure.
Oh,
The puppy is just so
cute. I just want to smell him.
So
I want to kiss his little face and smell his paws.
Oh, it looks like you can't find that home when you go to the Zillow link.
Oh,
Okay, it does. It just, my Zillow app wasn't working. Oh, that's actually really pretty.
why am I like, I want to live there?
Ooh,
Even
the
after hearing
outdoor
the stories.
pizza oven or just outside fireplace. Ooh.
Oh, that's a nice house. You would see this on Zillow. You'd never know that there were hauntings here.
Wow. Yeah, because there's so much natural light and stuff, but
Yeah, beautiful. Beautiful property, beautiful house.
beautiful. Sorry, you can't see it.
The lesson of real estate, you never know what's haunted.
You never know. Well, I'm glad that your mom has not and hopefully will not die in the way that your sister described because
because what the hell?
or
That is
if
so
it happens,
disturbing.
it's at really, really old age and it's peaceful.
Yeah, and that your sister just has premonitions 80 years before they actually happen.
Exactly.
Let's hope
My
that's how it
goodness.
goes.
Or maybe it's from a past life.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what it is. That's what we're saying it is, and that's what it will be because
Yeah.
we put that energy out.
I am curious, though, if the current owners do experience anything because it does sound like
Yeah.
it was the house and maybe your sister.
Okay, I have a story called Stuck in a Haunted House During a Sandstorm. Hello, ladies. I love your podcast. I'll get right into the story because there are many details. My grandfather on my dad's side lives in Glendale, Arizona, in what my family and I believe to be a haunted house. The house itself does not seem old, but there have been many paranormal occurrences in this home. This all happened when I was around 8 years old. My grandfather's remarried, so we'll call his wife Mary, and had 2 other children, the oldest being my age and the youngest being about 4 years old. We'll call her Susan. We usually stayed at my grandfather's when we visited, but my parents started avoiding staying at the house and got a hotel instead because of arguments between my dad and grandfather. But while we were driving, a sandstorm began. We
Oh,
were
no.
closer to my grandfather's than to the hotel, so we called my grandfather and he told us to stay the night at his house. We got to my grandfather's house very late. His wife Mary had fixed up Susan's room for my sister, brother, and me to sleep in. We get into our pajamas and we fell asleep. I remember waking up late at night, my throat being very dry, but I was way too scared to get up and fumble around in the dark kitchen to get a glass of water.
Oh.
It was so damn hot in the house and I had to quench my thirst. So I got out of bed, I opened the bedroom door and I made sure to shut it behind me so quietly so that I would not wake my siblings.
Or the ghosts.
I turned the corner of the hallway and into the living room. Straight ahead was the kitchen where there was a sliding glass door. I stopped and I felt my heart skip when I thought I saw my grandfather's shadow on the kitchen wall. I thought he was outside the sliding glass door and the moon was casting a shadow into the kitchen on the wall. I could see the shadow had a bottle and was chugging it. But after studying the shadow a bit longer, I realized that the shadow had facial features and clothes. It was an older man. He was dressed in a full suit, a vest, a hat, a bow tie.
That's how I dress to go get water at night.
Right? Under the moon. He had a large mustache and he was drinking from a bottle of alcohol. But this figure was transparent.
Was it inside or outside? I can't tell.
It sounds like it, I don't know.
Like right outside the back door or right
Because
inside
at first
the back
it seemed
door?
like it was outside of the back door behind the glass, but if it's transparent, was it actually just inside?
I don't know.
My heart was pounding out of my chest. I sprinted back down the hall and into the bedroom, shutting the door not as quietly as I did before, jumped back into bed, threw the covers over my head, and luckily my siblings are heavy sleepers, but I had so much trouble falling back to sleep. But eventually I did. The next morning, I woke up to find my siblings still sleeping next to me. I tried to make myself feel better by considering my groggy brain had just been playing tricks on me last night. I got up out of bed and I walked down the hall into the living room and I saw all of the adults having coffee in the kitchen. They saw me and said good morning, and that's when I asked my grandfather, "Were you up late last night?" And he looked confused and he said, "No, why?" I replied, "Last night I saw a man in the kitchen." Everyone was quiet. They all looked concerned. Then my grandfather said, "Are you serious?" I got worried and then I said, "I was thirsty last night. I came out for some water, but there was a man in a suit drinking out of a bottle." Mary began to panic and my grandfather tried calming her down. "It's okay. Calm down. It's okay." We didn't talk about my encounter for the rest of the visit. We stayed at a hotel the rest of the trip, but on the last day, while we were packing up to leave for home, I asked my dad why Mary was so distraught when I told them what I saw. That is when my father told me that Mary had some very aggressive and scary encounters in the house.
Oh, poor
My
Mary.
dad said that a long time ago, there was a husband, a wife, and 2 kids that lived in this house. The father was an alcoholic. He was very violent with his wife and children. Eventually, the husband killed the wife out of jealousy for her being too friendly with other men. He later killed his 2 children before taking his own life. Mary had been attacked on multiple occasions with flying objects. Once, she was hit over the head with plates while cleaning in the kitchen. She experienced sleep paralysis during the day. While napping, she saw 2 children in her closet. The children would slowly walk up to her and stroke her hair and face.
Oh my God. Oh, these poor kids.
No one believed her until that morning when I shared my experience. My grandfather then had the house blessed. I have chills.
Oh, it's so sad because it's so active, meaning that these spirits are still like experiencing.
Right. And also just for Mary, like her panic in that moment was probably like the panic of this thing is here still. And also
A little bit of relief.
people are finally going to believe me. Oh, I'm not going crazy. Someone else saw it too.
Oh my gosh.
My grandfather had the house blessed not long after this trip, and the activity stopped. They still live in that house today. From Andrea.
Okay, well, first of all, that background is absolutely horrific, and I hate that that happened, and it does happen. It's awful, just awful, absolutely awful. I'm hopeful that in getting the house blessed and acknowledging the existence of these spirits, that they are no longer being tormented by their murderer.
Yeah.
You know? And that the kids are,
I know,
the way that the kids were
they're so
trying
sweet,
to protect
and they're
Mary.
still stroking her face and so gentle.
Means that they probably did that for their mom too. And clearly all of the spirits saw the mom and Mary because the way that the ghost of that man was treating her.
Oh
And
my God.
oh my God. All right. Well, I wanted to end this on, and I don't know necessarily that it's going to like pick us up, but
In the
it's
end,
not
paranormal
as
stories
bad.
it's
not as
okay.
horrible.
Okay.
This is from our listener E, and it's called Haunted Real Estate. They told me a man died in the house and we still bought it. Spoiler, it is totally haunted. Hey, spooky ladies. Apropos of your legally haunted episode and your request for haunted real estate stories, here is mine. In 2017, my family was on the market for a bigger home, and we found a big old home in Pasadena, California that fit the bill and our budget. It was a trust sale, which usually means the owner has died, and the realtor let us know that the owner had, in fact, died within the house of natural causes. Undeterred, we went to an open house and fell in love with it. It sits high up on a hill, has incredible views, tons of vintage charm, and from what we could detect, no bad vibes. My kid, who was 2 at the time, is a total creepy kid, and I brought her to the home, and as we walked around, I kept asking her if we were alone or if she saw anyone else in the house. And she said no. I love, bring your 2-year-old around to make sure that the house isn't haunted.
Right? It's like every time you see someone, can you point to them? That's the game.
Right.
You're like, oh, yes, there is a man. And then in the next room, they're like, look at that old lady. And you're like,
not moving in. Yeah. It was during this tour with my kid when I noticed that the front door showed evidence of having been kicked in and the carpet in one room was ripped out. I understood then, and it was later confirmed, that the previous owner had died in the home and had not been discovered for some time.
Yikes.
Still, dear reader, we were undeterred. We placed an offer on the home, hired an inspector to come check it for issues, roof, plumbing, foundation, etc. Our realtor and the inspector heard noises in the home and clearly smelled smoke. They searched for the source of the noises and smoky smell, but found nothing. And this smell of smoke was quite strong, so they called the trust realtor and reported it, advising the trust realtor to come to the house at once and to call the fire department. The home was searched, and again, there was nothing to be found. For some reason, we were still undeterred. The sale went through and we moved in. At first, it was quiet, but then strange things started happening. My toddler started saying the craziest, creepiest shit, and when we asked her who had told her these things, she would say, and I quote, "My guys in my room." Who were these guys, and when did she talk to them? And why are they my guys?
My guys. My boys.
She reported that they were old guys, and they visited her in her bedroom at night. I am imagining this 2-year-old like at the poker table smoking like cigars just with the old guys.
With the grandpas.
The things they told her included how they died in great detail. One guy was very old and had already lost his wife to illness. His kids, 2 boys and a girl, had grown up and moved out and had families on their own and rarely visited. Like, these are things a 2-year-old doesn't make up.
A wild amount of detail for a 2-year-old to provide.
He died in his house one night when his house caught fire. And not only did he die in the fire, but he had 2 cars in the garage that also burnt, and he was very upset about his cars.
So the toddler just already had all this information, meaning they were just kind of all conversating about this anyway?
Late at night in her bedroom, yeah.
Just came up in conversation.
Yeah. Another guy said that he died and that he went to the sky, but then nothing happened. She would drop these nuggets randomly, sometimes turning them into long ballads that she would sing to us. She was 2. She was not in daycare, we didn't own a TV, and we couldn't figure out a logical place where she picked up these stories.
Oh my God.
2, we started hearing...
I'm just picturing all these old men too, where it's like, she's asking them hard questions in the middle of the night, and they're like, she's just a child. How do we tell her? We'll tell her through song. And then they're just like, I died and my car's caught fire. I really am still mad.
It's so funny. I also imagine like they're like in a jazz band for some reason.
Right?
I don't know.
It's a quartet.
It is. We started hearing footsteps in this house. If we were upstairs, we heard the footsteps in the stairwell. And if we were downstairs, we heard them upstairs in the rooms above us. One night in particular was super spooky. It was wintertime and we had just put our daughter to bed. We had recently moved her to a toddler bed and she was potty training. So she had this fun new habit of sneaking out of bed, coming upstairs to where we would inevitably be watching the Winter Olympics on my laptop. She would then announce that she had to pee and we'd bring her her little plastic potty and she would sit and watch snowboarding or whatever with us for a few minutes before we brought her back downstairs to bed. On this particular night, my partner and I were sitting together and we both heard her coming up the stairs. It was a very particular sound. Stomp, stomp, pause, stomp, stomp, because her legs were so short and the flight of stairs were quite long. We listened to her make her way up the stairs and sort of smirked at each other like, oh, this fucking kid. We heard her reach the top of the stairs, but she didn't enter the living room. We called out to her. No answer. I went to look for her. Nothing. I then went downstairs and found her fast asleep in her bed. My partner, who swears he does not believe in the paranormal, was very shook. We agreed that it felt like whatever walked up the stairs wanted us to think it was my daughter and that whatever it was wasn't 100% friendly. But here's the most unnerving bit. This was just after the birth of my second kid. So now my daughter is 3 years old, and she says to me very matter-of-factly, "Mommy, do you want to know what happens to you when you die, but the doctors don't know how you died?" I said, no, kiddo, what happens? And she went on to describe an autopsy and used her little hands to show where the incisions start and end, how the rib cage is opened, and how organs are lifted out and inspected. I listened to her, and when she was done, I said, yes, kiddo, that's called an autopsy, and that's how doctors try to learn more about how someone died. And then I said, what incredibly smart person told you all about that? And she said, very nonchalantly, my guys in my room that night.
They really cover everything in conversation, don't they?
Seriously. That night, after she went to bed, you better believe I called everyone who has access to my daughter, my mom, my mother-in-law, everyone. And I asked if they had somehow discussed this topic with her or if they had left the TV on where she had seen something about the topic. But no
Calling
one.
grandma, did you like deeply describe the ins and outs of
Performing an autopsy?
Yeah. How to cut someone open?
Like ripping open the rib cage,
the
like
chest cavity, yeah.
all of it. But of course, no one had.
Of course.
And that was just the beginning. We have now been here for nearly 6 years and have had more experiences than I can count. Some pretty terrifying, some just playful. My daughter, who is now almost 8, no longer talks about her guys, but she really hates being alone in any room of the house. Last summer, we did some renovations, and during the demo phase, we found some super spooky items in a wall. An old teddy bear, a baby blanket, a black garbage bag. And when the workers removed these items after weeks of refusing to touch them, because literally no one wanted to touch them, including us, a whole new round of weird shit started happening. And now I'm pretty sure that we have 2 active entities in the home when previously we only had 1. Great. Oh no. From E.
I'm obsessed with your child.
My guys in my room.
Guys.
My guys in my room.
It was just my guys. This feels like Only Murders in the Building.
Right?
Your child is Selena Gomez, just with a bunch of older men as her friends. My guys.
My guys.
An unlikely friendship where the conversation is bizarre, but it's always interesting. And that's why you got to tune in the middle of the night.
I'd be curious to learn more about the guy who lived in the home, who did die in the home before, because it sounds like he had a group of guys, like his guy friends, who perhaps had passed away before he did, and they were all waiting for him. And now they all have their nightly poker nights in the house. And
every night is guys' night.
It happens
Plus your
to
2-year-old.
It happens to be in your daughter's room.
Also, like, do you have a baby monitor? Have you ever heard anything? Is this happening in dream world, in the astral plane, where your child's just like constantly in her dream state, hanging out with her guys? I'm so curious.
I want to know more. I kind of love my guys.
I love my guys too. They're the best haunting. I want to live there.
Yeah, can we move in? Oh, I'd be so curious if you used GhostTube in her room and tried to contact my guys.
Also, ask questions to my guys. Ask your daughter to ask my guys some questions.
Could we do a live conversation and we'll watch you use GhostTube and talk to the guys?
The guys seem really cool.
Okay, this was a better one to end on.
They have a wealth of knowledge. Yeah, this was a great one to end on.
It's a little creepy, but also silly and fun.
Also, it makes me wonder, like, was one of them an autopsy tech? Or they just were super into forensic files?
Or did they explain what happened to them because they watched the autopsy happen to their body after they had passed away? Because it's also so specific, the way that her daughter asked, do you know what happens to your body when you die and the doctors don't know what happened to you? And then explains an autopsy. So it's almost like my guys, one of them was like, yeah, and when I died, the doctors didn't know how I died. So they did this thing called an autopsy, and I watched them rip open my rib cage, like all of these things.
Which is not normally appropriate to talk to a child about those things.
Definitely not.
But it does sound like this 2-year-old, she's very receptive, and she finds it quite fascinating.
Yeah.
She's going to be the smartest 2-year-old ever. She's going to come in with a million anecdotes.
Maybe she'll be a doctor, and it's all thanks to my guys.
My guys. It's like, when did you first know you wanted to get into the medical field? Well, I used to hang out with these old ghosts, and they would describe their autopsies to me when I was 2.
And I couldn't get it out of my head. And also, she's now going to love cars, because this one guy who died in a fire was more upset about his cars being destroyed.
She's going to know all about cars, all about car parts.
Like, I am so curious if you could learn more about this man, find out who he hung out with, and like if there is one of his friends who had died the way that your daughter is explaining.
Right, especially because it does feel like a small town or like small county. Most places are.
It's Pasadena.
Like,
it's kind of big.
Oh, I missed that it was Pasadena.
Yeah.
But still, like 2 cars catching fire, accompanying a death.
And that's why they smelled smoke.
Like that feels like you would still in Pasadena. Pasadena is big, but it's not that big.
No, I know. Also, I hope you're safe with all the fires that just happened.
Yeah. And I hope if your child ever wants a tattoo, that the first tattoo she gets says my guys.
My guys. Wow. I love this episode. I love this topic. I mean, so many of you live in haunted houses or experience things in your home.
The classic ghost story.
Yeah. So please email us any paranormal encounter that you have to 2girlsoneghostpodcast@gmail.com and join us on Patreon for bonus content and for all episodes 1 week early and ad-free, plus campfire stories and stickers and so much more.
You can rate and review on iTunes, tell everybody about us. Shout out to Jamie Ryan, who edits and produces 2 Girls, One Ghost. And thank you to all of you.
We love you.
And we will see you on the other side.